How do we share those moments with each other? How can we be there with and for each other and not abandon ourselves? Because it's so complicated emotionally when someone has been diagnosed with a life-threatening or chronic illness, or they're in chronic pain. And there's no time to wait. Well, I'll wait to do this work when. No, we need to do it now. We need to have all the gifts and skills and tools we can get so that we don't miss a single second of being together. Scary stuff happens, bad stuff happens, and there's help. Nobody has to go through this alone.
Welcome to yourbrilliance.com. I'm your host, Amy Waterman. There's not much to smile about when someone you love gets sick, and like really sick, especially if you don't know if they're going to get any better. Once you enter into that world of doctors and tests and hospitals, it's like you're in this alternate reality and no one can understand what you're going through. Everybody else is living their ordinary everyday lives, complaining about the traffic and the weather and the cost of gas. Well, they should step into your shoes for a day. And sometimes it gets to be too much. You're so busy fighting the illness and the medical establishment that won't help and the insurance company that won't pay out that you forget what it felt like to be friends and lovers. And that is where today's guest comes in. Dr. Jackie Black is a marriage expert, educator, and board-certified coach serving couples in trouble and couples facing life-threatening or chronic illness. She's an author, speaker, and frequent guest expert who offers marriage coaching to clients anywhere in the world. Welcome, Dr. Jackie.
Thank you, Amy. It's so nice to be here with you today.
So I want to start out, you have your own personal experience of dealing with loss. You actually lost your husband to cancer.
Yes, Mark died in 2005. And it was interesting. I've been working in the cancer community for many years before Mark was diagnosed. And I was living my thesis, my dissertation, all these years later. And I was so grateful to have the information that I had. On the other hand, it was sort of like I had an insider's view that I'd never had before. There was stuff I really didn't know I didn't know. And for example, one day Mark came home from chemo and he was really grumpy. And I said hi and got up to greet him. And he came into my office and he gave me a kiss and then he walked away. And I walked into his office and I gave him a kiss and I said, I'll be waiting for you when you're ready to come out and talk. And then I walked out of his office and I sort of walked into my office and I went, ugh, what's going on? But I got busy doing the stuff that was mine to do. And at about 5 or 5:30, I knocked on the door and I said, are you hungry? He said, no, I don't think so. And I said, all right, I'm going to order Thai food and I'll see you later. And I ordered his favorite food. So dinner came and I knocked on his door and I said, the food is here and I have food for you if you're interested. And he said, no, I don't think so. So I ate. About 8 o'clock he came out and he sat down and he said, you are so amazing. I had a very, very bad experience in chemo today. And I said, what happened? He said one of the people, he was in a trial, and there was this group that was in the chemo suite every week together that was on this trial. This was the first person who died in the trial, and that wasn't there. Right. And I always tear up when I tell the story. And he said, I just haven't been able to talk. I haven't been able to catch my breath. And he said, you were so sweet. You were so kind to me all day. You didn't make any demands. You didn't get mad at me because I know my voice sounded gruff. And he said, it means so much to me that you just were able to let me be where I was. And I didn't have to be on. It's one of the things that I work with couples with specifically is how do we share those moments with each other? How can we be there with and for each other and not abandon ourselves? because it's so complicated emotionally when someone has been diagnosed with a life-threatening or chronic illness, or they're in chronic pain. And there's no time to wait. Well, I'll wait to do this work when. No, we need to do it now. We need to have all the gifts and skills and tools we can get so that we don't miss a single second of being together.
So this is really interesting because, as you said, when illness strikes, all your energy goes towards that illness. You've got an enemy, you're trying to work to contain it, and you think that the relationship really, well, we'll get back to that once the illness has been beaten. But what you're saying is actually couples need to put just as much energy into maintaining and strengthening that connection, because, am I right, this is going to actually help them through that illness.
Absolutely. They need each other. If there was a time in a relationship that people really needed each other, not for emotional support, but we need the connection, that special warm thing that we can't even put a name to, that we get with each other. And that's the first thing that gets lost, because the relationship becomes transactional. It becomes logistical. It's about doctors, as you say, it's about doctors and procedures and medication and reactions to medications and surgery. It is an alternate reality. There's no question about it. And if we lose that connection to each other, to that special something that makes you and me, then they're living in a very cold, dark place. And it's scarier than it has to be. I'll just say it that way. Being sick is scary enough, right? It changes everything when you don't have the focus, the motivation, the energy that you used to have.
So speaking about that, when couples going about their own ordinary lives, they're usually quite equal. You know, sometimes there's his needs, sometimes there's her needs, sometimes she's leaning on him, he's leaning on her. But one of the things that happens with illness is that balance of power switches, and the ill partner gets all the time and energy, and the well partner ends up really not having any focus on them. How does that affect the relationship?
It's the death knell, no pun intended. So there's this insidious setup that happens. Everybody agrees. The well partner agrees. The ill partner agrees. Friends and family agree. Everybody agrees that the ill person now sucks all the oxygen out of the room, gets all the time and attention. And I want to tell you, in my experience, and I've been in the cancer, I was in the cancer community in the late 70s. So I've been around a long time. And people who are ill will tell you they feel like such a burden, and it's a Herculean effort to be okay, or to say, I don't need this, or I don't need that, to try and equalize or stabilize things. But everybody agrees most of the time that the ill person gets the time, and well, don't you know I'm sick? Why are you bringing me this now? Don't you know I have enough to work on? They're not wrong. It's not an illegitimate, I'll just say it that way. It isn't an illegitimate viewpoint. It's not productive, right? It's not productive. We can do more than one thing at a time. People can be sick. People can feel awful and not have any strength and have an open heart. People can be in a lot of pain and have an open heart. You know, be willing, let that in. I guess that's the way I want to say it. Really let in warmth and caring and compassion, and let it out, so that it becomes this mutual reciprocal flow. You don't know you can do it until you actually are called upon to do it. And then as people try and they experiment and they explore, they find out how doable. I'm not going to say it's easy, but it is more than doable. And then they want to continue to do it because it feels so good, and it's enhancing and enlivening and enriching. And so whenever we find things that make us feel good, we want to do it more.
So I want to talk about a couple that does a different strategy. Their strategy is that they want to contain the illness. They want to put it in a little box and keep the family and everything going as normal, all the traditions as normal, not let anything change. You know, they go out in life and put a smile on their face and nothing's wrong and it's all okay. Do you think that boxing the illness and locking it away so it doesn't affect the family, is that a good option?
It depends on what the illness is. I don't want to just do a broad brush. There are some things to consider. Is it going to be a long time? Is it a protracted chronic illness? Because if it is, that is not going to work. That is not a strategy that's got long life. Are they going to get sicker and sicker? Are they going to deteriorate? Will they have less energy? Will they start to look more ill? So that's not going to work in that case. So in some situations, under some circumstances, that might be a strategy that works. Generally, you want to tell the truth. You want people around you to know, not to upset them, but to invite them to contribute, to participate, to be part of your family, part of your community, to the extent that it feels good to you, that it is supportive, that it is nurturing. The other thing that happens, it's very interesting, when we are inauthentic, when we don't tell the truth about what's going on with us, it leaks out. It just has a way of doing that. And then people don't know what's happening. And they either blame themselves or wonder what it is that they've done wrong, or they get mad at you because they try to figure it out. And whenever there are blanks in the story, either experientially or in our heads, we fill in the blanks with our own stuff. So I would say that in the main, people are much better served to be open and to be honest, even with little children, because children pick up much more. I was going to say, little children pick up much more than we think they do. But more than that, they overhear conversations. You don't know that they're coming into a room and they hear something, or they'll pick up a piece of paper that's, it often is harder to backpedal and fix a betrayal, because it feels like betrayal. And that's what you'll be doing, is repairing a betrayal in relationships generally at some point. So my prescription would be, don't do it.
Yes. So one of the other things that we often do is that, especially if our partner has been diagnosed with an illness that could potentially take their life, we don't want to think about it, because the thought of how the future could turn out is just terrifying. And we know that if we think about that, we're going to go into this dark hole and we're not going to come out again. And that's not going to help anyone, because we're not going to be able to function. And so we jam all those feelings down. Does that work?
Again, typically not, because feelings are normal, natural, and necessary. And we can't create feelings, and we can't make them go anywhere. So the choice that there are 5 normal, natural feelings: mad, sad, glad, afraid, and guilty. Just 5. Everything else is a combination of mad, sad, glad, afraid, and guilty. Feelings aren't good or bad. They're not positive or negative. They're not scary or not scary. They exist in and of themselves. The choice that we have is how we're going to behave, how we're going to respond. So being sad, there are a lot of ways to be sad. It doesn't have to be dark. Being mad doesn't mean being violent or being hostile. So there are really functional, healthy, productive ways to express the normal, natural feelings that are ours to experience. It's like a peacock who has feathers. The peacock never says, I like this blue feather and this green feather, but I don't like that purple feather. So, and the other thing is that feelings tend to leak out too, if we're not owning them and honoring them as legitimate. And the other thing is, if we have children, we want to model that feelings are normal, natural, and necessary, right? We have to learn how to identify them accurately, experience them, bring accurate language, and then find our courage to tell the truth about how we feel. That's a tall order.
So one of the things that we always hope is that we're going to beat that illness and everything is going to go back to normal and we're going to get our lives back and it will be just like it was before that illness hit, does everything go back to normal?
I love this question and always appreciate being asked, because I want to say unequivocally, it will never go back. We cannot go back in our lives. We are the beautiful tapestry of all of the threads of our life experience. And so we don't go back to something. Life becomes enriched because of the experiences, because of the wisdom, because of the challenges and the pain. So what we find is a new normal, or we create a new normal. And it is in the new normal that people will thrive, or they'll survive, or they'll have a very, very, very difficult time. But if we can think about what is the new normal and put a lot of energy on just being open to seeing what emerges and what bubbles up. And we can create whatever we have. You know, we say that about relationships. If you don't like what's going on in your relationship, you created it. And the good news is you can create it to be exactly the way you want it to be. I try not to be that rosy about illness when I talk about illness, because while it's true, it's very hard for people who are ill and people who love people who are ill to hear it in that way. So what I do is ask people to set up an experiment and say to themselves, what if it's true? That if there's something that's going on relationally that I don't like or that doesn't feel good to me, what if it's true that I could change that? What change might I bring, and how might I do that? And then it becomes a very workable frame when we just say, what if? What if?
And I love that. And one of the things, of course, that we can do is we can reach out for help, that we are not alone in the struggle, and we may not know what to do, to how to support our partner if we're the ill one, how to keep our family together. We may not know what to do, but there's help. And I know that you work with couples, and that you are one of the few marriage coaches out there doing this work, specializing in this work. If somebody listening is struggling with a partner with chronic illness or life-threatening illness, or they're the ones with the illness, what kind of support could you offer them?
Yeah, they need to call me. I have private coaching, so I work with couples one-to-one. And when I work, I guess 2-to-1. And the way that I work with people is that often it would be helpful for me to speak to one partner. So I always make agreements with couples that if it's helpful to have a side conversation, there is no confidentiality with a single partner. Whatever goes on with a single partner, we always bring back to the couple, to the other partner in the couple work. So I have private coaching. I work on the phone, on Skype, on Zoom. I have clients in 8 time zones all around the world, the English speaking. The other way is that I have a 3-day private destination retreat. And you can actually come down, spend 3 days with me. I have a gorgeous retreat hotel. You stay in the hotel. I have a suite in the hotel. So you go to breakfast, come down, we work in the suite all morning if you need to rest or stop or eat or walk. Whatever you need, we do. I take you to lunch. We come back, we work from about 2 until 5 or 6, again, depending on your energy and what's going on in the piece of work. You have evenings alone in a luxurious setting with no responsibilities, no phones, no kids, no bills to pay, so that you can really just focus. It's an immersion into all of the skills and tools and strategies and a way to reconnect. So private coaching, once a week, twice a month, whatever people need. And then this 3-day private destination retreat.
Fantastic. And for those of you watching, if this sounds like something you would like, maybe something you need, we have a link for you. Just go to yourbrilliance.org/Dr. Jackie. That's yourbrilliance.org/DRJACKIE. Thank you, Dr. Jackie, for coming on and sharing with us. And I wondered if you had any last message you would like to leave our viewers with.
I would, and thank you so much for inviting me to be with you today. My message is that scary stuff happens. bad stuff happens and there's help, nobody has to go through this alone. And even if your partner isn't ready, whichever partner it is, I can support people individually or as a couple. So the main thing is you're not alone. We can do this together.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. And thank you out there for watching. We hope to see you again soon. Until then, let your brilliance shine.